bring in Corey Lewandowski. He's a Trump senior advisor. Great to have you back here on National Report. What do you make of this move by President-elect Trump and his plans on what he wants to do with these pardons? He says that he might do it on day one. What can you tell us about it?
This is Donald Trump fulfilling the campaign promises that he made to the American people. Listen, what we have seen from the people who were the nonviolent offenders on January 6th is that there's been a two-tier justice system in this country for far too long. We didn't see the rioters who took place in the BLM movement have to spend 3 or 4 years in jail. Those who threw Molotov cocktails at police departments and burned substations around the country, had these massive riots all over, were treated very differently. And we know, and your viewers remember this, Vice President Harris and her team were actually paying to get those people out of jail because by and large, they were in cities that condone or at least accept violence against police officers. As it relates to January 6th, the president has said if these are nonviolent individuals and they're still in jail, their cases will be reviewed immediately and potentially a pardon for them on day one for people who were trying to exercise some of their free speech.
Yeah, and he noted, too, he would be looking at it case by case. So you're right, we'll be learning more about these individuals. Wanted to talk to you about some other news made during the Meet the Press sit-down, where the president-elect was asked about the current FBI Director Christopher Wray. Here's what happened next.
Are you going to fire the current FBI Director Christopher Wray, who you appointed?
Well, I can't say I'm thrilled with him. He invaded my home. I'm suing the country over it. He invaded Mar-a-Lago. I don't want to be Joe Biden and give you an answer and then do the exact opposite.
We're going to talk about
so
that.
I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to say is I certainly cannot be happy with him.
Don't you have to fire him in order to make room for Kash Patel if he is, in fact, confirmed?
Well, I mean, it would sort of seem pretty obvious that if Kash gets in, he's going to be taking somebody's place, right? And somebody is the man that you're talking about.
So do you think Wray stays in his position, or is Kash Patel moving in?
Look, the president was pretty resolved in his answer here. He has nominated Kash Patel to be the next director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. That position requires the U.S. Senate to confer upon that, but they have given the president wide latitude in the past to have their respective nominees in the positions that they want. So once Kash Patel goes through the Senate confirmation and is confirmed, he will be taking the place of Christopher Wray, which is the prerogative of the president. That's how the system works. And by the way, it's not just Kash who's going to come in and take these positions. You look at the Secretary of Homeland Security or the Secretary of Education or all these other positions that are cabinet level of presidential appointments, which requires the Senate to confer and give these people the opportunity to serve. Kash is one of many, many, many here. And so it should not be a surprise that there's a new regime, a new group of people coming in under President Trump 2.0.
Corey, I want to ask you about the birthright citizenship, because that was brought up in this interview, and it's been all over the news right now. Is this something that Trump can do, number one? But secondly, he vowed to work with Democrats on this. I want to get your thoughts on how that plays out.
Yeah, it's a very interesting legal question. You know, Donald Trump has said that once you step one foot into this country, if you have a baby here, that person, by the Constitution, is an American citizen. There are some real concerns about that. We know that people come to this country just to have their children here. We also know that we've got tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of convicted criminals in this country that have to be deported. We know that we've got murderers and rapists and people who've been let in over the last few years who Donald Trump's priority is going to be to first seal the border, and that only legal immigrants get to come in, and then to deport the people who shouldn't be here legally. So listen, the open question of can this be done through executive action or does a federal law need to be passed is one that the attorneys will ultimately decide. But that being said, we have to have a system in place where legal immigrants are giving the priority, and those who are in the country illegally will be shipped out. And if they want to stay with their families, the president said, that's okay. That's a decision you will make. But if you're in this country illegally and you've been a criminal or a convicted felon, we're going to get you out of this country very quickly.
All right. Only a few months to go, less than. We'll be watching to see what happens on day one. Corey Lewandowski, thanks so much for joining us today.